Hey everybody, how are you all doing out there? This is Craig Duswalt, and this is the newest webinar on how to write a book and publish your book. Once again, you guys are all free to ask me a question while we go through this, but I will probably answer all the questions as we go through it. So maybe just save the questions unless you have a dire question because I just said something. That would be totally fine if you do have a question. Otherwise, we'll do a Q&A at the end as well. So I'm going to go into my PowerPoint here. And now that I know how to use PowerPoint so well, because we did Zoom 101 and now I'm graduating to Zoom 201 and maybe even 301 because I'm getting way better at it. I'm going to share the screen here. And I'm just going to do this one here. And there it is. And hit play. All right, so here we are for the Rock Your Life Mastermind. Design your dream business and your dream life now. This is our Rock Your Life Master Class series, and this one is the master class on how to write a book and publish it. So I'm going to give you some options of publishing after we talk about actually how to write a book. So we're going to go through a lot of steps on actually why you should write a book, how to write a book, and what you should put in the book. These are mainly for people that want to write books about their business, but it can be about novels or anything else. But mainly this is more of a non-fiction type of a way to write a book. However, like I just said, you can apply a lot of these principles when writing a novel or something else. All right, so we start with a quote of the day first. I think I have a couple of quotes today. First one is this: outside of a dog, a man's best friend. Outside of a dog, a book is man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read. Groucho Marx. He's a funny guy. Next one, another Groucho Marx one. I find television very educating. Every time somebody turns on the set, I go into the other room and read a book. Groucho Marx. Obviously, he liked to read and did not believe in television, even though he was on TV. It was kind of funny. And last but not least, this is a great one as well. This will insult some people, but that's okay. The person, be it gentleman or lady, who has not pleasure in a good novel must be intolerably stupid. Jane Austen. So, boy, there's there it is right there, isn't it? Who has not pleasure in a good novel must be intolerably stupid. Well, I don't know if I believe that totally, but Jane Austen does. But reading is, they always say the ones with the biggest TV don't have as much money as the ones with the bigger library. So reading is very, very, very powerful, obviously. All right, I have a fun little video. I'm going to try this thing. My buddy Chris showed me, well, I knew how to do this for live events, but I didn't know I could actually do this, so I'm testing. This is a short little video. This is from the movie Spinal Tap, and I just think this is absolutely funny.
Oh, this is special too. See? Look, see, still got the old tagger on it. So you've never even played it. You just bought it. Don't touch it. Oh, don't touch it. I wasn't don't touch it. I was just pointing at it. Well, don't point even. Don't even point. No, it can't be played. Never. I mean, can I look at it? No, you've seen enough of that one. This is a top to use on stage, but it's very, very special because if you can see, the numbers all go to 11. Look, right across the board. 11, 11, and most of 11 amps go up to 10. Exactly. Does that mean it's louder? Is that any louder? Well, it's one louder, isn't it? It's not 10. You see, most blokes are going to be playing at 10. You're on 10 here, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. You're on 10 on your guitar. Where can you go from there? Where? I don't know. Nowhere, exactly. What we do is if we need that extra push over the cliff, you know what we do? Put it up to 11, exactly. One louder. Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder? These go to 11.
Were you just nod somebody, Roseanne, were you able to hear that? Okay, I can't hear you because you're muted, but just nod. Can you hear that? Okay, great. Thank you. I forgot if I turned on the share the computer audio. but I did apparently. All right, masterclass, how to write a book. Here we go. This was a book I was going to write. It was going to be a large book, a 300-page book, because I went to these seminars and everyone told me you got to write a large business book. So I was going to write a book on marketing, and I was going to call it Do Good Marketing, really good. And it would be 5,641 extremely long tips that will take you years and even longer to read and even longer to implement, written in 6 years by Craig Duswalt. So I was going to write this very, very large book because someone said, in order to write a business book, you have to write a big, large book. So, and then I got a testimonial from a friend of mine, and I'll just read the testimonial for this large book that I was going to write. This is the perfect book for the person who hates using drugs and alcohol to induce sleep. In fact, there are so many chapters in this book that it put me to sleep for 600 nights straight. The added cleverness of this unique writer is that because the book is so long, when you finally finish it, you can read it again from the beginning because you won't remember anything about what you learned in chapter 1, written by a friend of mine, and I'm not going to share who that was. But anyway, I read this and said to myself, you know what, this person has a point. No one wants to read 300-page business books. So I started teaching people how to write small books. And I wrote a bunch of 96-page books when I first started in my speaking career. So I was going to write this big book that wasn't really the title, that was just making fun of myself, but I was going to write a really big book on marketing. And what I did was, instead of writing one big book, I cut all the chapters into their own book. So for example, chapter 1 of that big book was going to be something like marketing your small business on a shoestring budget. Chapter 2 might have been creating wealth on a shoestring budget. Chapter 3 was going to be outsourcing your small business on a shoestring budget. And chapter 4, outsourcing your life on a shoestring budget. So all I did was take the original book that I was going to write that had all these chapters, and then I just condensed them into their own book and wrote 96-page books. So anyway, once again, I hate looking at this. These are my old books when I was America's Shoestring Budget Coach before the whole RockStar thing came out. But I hate that picture that I have there because I have no idea why the photographer made me stand like that, but he did. And it's going to live with me for, this is my legacy, unfortunately. That picture is my legacy. I can't make it go away because it's still out there. So I wrote these 4 books in 9 weeks, and everyone was like, who the heck is this guy? And why did he write 4 books in 9 weeks? And all of a sudden I started getting a lot of speaking gigs because I wrote these books really, really fast. Like I said, those 4 books you just saw I wrote in 9 weeks. And then I changed my brand and I got smarter, and I changed everything to the RockStar system for success, how to achieve RockStar status in your industry. And that's when my seminars started going through the roof. And all I did was I was teaching the same principles on marketing your small business on a shoestring budget. And all I did was change the title and teaching people now how to become rock stars in their business. And then all of a sudden my business went through the roof, and I started getting a lot of speaking gigs because I was teaching people how to be a rock star. Then I wrote another book, Welcome to My Jungle. It's my days touring with Guns N' Roses. Another book, a compilation book with a bunch of great people in it, Rockstar Success Stories. This was my first compilation book. Then my wife did a compilation book called Women Who Rock, another great book with a lot of great people in it. Their pictures are right there. Then I did Rock Your Life, which was the first launch of this Rock Your Life brand. And here are the people that were in that book as well, another compilation book. And then Women Who Rock went so well, she did Women Who Rock 2, my wife, and it was the same. Look at the consistency here. It's the same colors, and all we did was add that number 2 next to it. So everyone knew that this was a series of books, and we are going to do Women Who Rock 3 eventually. Then I just released, this is my new book. This is the one I'm most proud of. It's Rock Stars, Inspirational Stories of Success by 100 of the top business leaders, athletes, celebrities, and rock stars in the world. And we had amazing people. There's actually 100 people in this book. These people are paid to be on the front cover and or were celebrities. So these are the, let me see, 5, 6, 12, 24 featured authors. And then there were 76 other authors in this book as well. So there's 100 stories in this book, and it's a very, very powerful book if you want to go out and read this book. Now I have a new book coming out, 1001 Ways to Rock Your Life. And that should be coming out in the October Los Angeles Rock Your Life Experience event. Everything was put on hold because of this coronavirus thing. So it was supposed to be released this summer in Nashville, but we're not doing that now because I can't. And so we're doing it in October because I want a big launch party for this event, for this book, because it's going to be very, very powerful. I do have a few spots left if you want to email me, if you want to be in this book. You get to write 10 tips for $500. And it's just, we have a lot of guest authors in this book, and everyone's writing between 1, 10, and 50 tips. And I'm writing 100 of the tips as well. So these are all just samples of some books that are out there. My son, Tyler, at 10 years old, he's now 20. Oh my gosh, it was half a lifetime ago. Oh my gosh, where did that go? So anyway, my son, Tyler, when he was 10 years old, wrote a book on how to become a blogging expert. So if you don't think that you can write a book, then shame on you, because my 10-year-old wrote a book and it was about blogging. And this is an interesting book. It was, my son had like 100,000 unique visitors or whatever on his blog, like 100,000. And my wife and I are like, how are you getting all these people on your blog? Like, who are you? And he says to us, well, I go to your seminars. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you actually listen? Because I thought he was just drawing in the back of the room. But anyway, he decided to take some of the principles that we teach at my events and apply them to his blog. And he got 50,000 initially, and then 100,000 people to go to his blog. So then my wife and I are like, dude, you need to write a book on this and just give us the top 25 things that you did to start an effective blog. And that's what he did. And then the first time he ever spoke at my seminar, it was amazing. He was 10 years old, just wrote this book, and he gets up on stage and he's going to give them, I think, 3 to 5 tips on how to start your blog or how to grow your blog. And he was so adorable, so cute, just was amazing in front of all these people. He wasn't intimidated at all. And I said to him before he went on stage, I said, now you're going to sell your book at the back of the room, and I know it's $10 a book, but if they buy 2 books, maybe you should make 2 books for $15. And he said, I don't think so. It's 2 for $20. And I'm like, well, you got to give some sort of deals or some sort of bonus or something. And he said, fine, I'll give them a couple of bonuses. So he hears my bonuses all the time, but I give good bonuses. And these were his bonuses. He said, all right, if you buy 2 books for $20, I'll sign your books for you. That was bonus number 1. Bonus number 2 was I'll let you take a picture with me. And bonus number 3 was I'll give you a high five. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this poor kid's going to sell nothing. And with that, everyone runs to the back of the room and goes crazy. The line is out the door to buy these books. And here's some pictures from it. Here's Tyler signing some of the books. Here's Tyler taking a picture of some of the book people that bought his books. And here, yep, he was giving high fives to everybody. And the line was like crazy. And at the end of this, everyone leaves the room, and my wife and I are in the room, and we're so proud. We're just sitting there going, oh my gosh, our kid just spoke on stage, sold books in the back of the room, and made some money. And here's a picture of him with his $1,200 he made the first day, selling his book for like $10 each. So he sold like 120 bucks. And my wife and I are looking at this going, we're so, so proud. We're like tears coming from our eyes because he's proud, we're proud. And then he walks up to my wife and I after everyone has left the room, and he said, Mom, Dad, I figured it out. I don't need to go to school anymore. And we're like, whoa, 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 no, that is not the lesson. And then he goes into negotiation mode. No, listen, do the math. If I make $1,200 every 15 minutes, I could make $10,000 a day. And my wife and I are looking at each other. That's what we kind of teach, but we want him to go to school at the same time. So anyway, he's going to school. You know, he didn't win that argument, but it is a good wow thing that he did that, and he continues to do it. He still sells that book. Actually, that's not true. He did sell that book up until about a year ago, but then Tim Gillette in my mastermind puts on these blog and video conferences, blog and VideoCon, and he just did one. And he bought all the rest of the books, and he gives them out at his conferences. Smart marketing. So that was really, really cool. And if you don't think that you could write a book after hearing this, that my 10-year-old wrote a book, then there's a book out there called Everything Men Know About Women, and it's 180 blank pages. So if you still don't think you could write a book, do something clever like this, and you don't have to write anything. Just throw a cover together, have a bunch of blank pages, or I'll give you some other ideas where you don't have to write so much. And because I did this one, this slide, I have to do this one. The book Understanding Women has finally arrived in bookstores, and that is actually volume 1 of 10. And my wife loves that slide. No, not really. All right, writing a book. So when you're writing a book, it's hard to sit down at a computer, sit down and look at a keyboard and look at a blank screen and say, okay, I'm ready to write a book. And it's not easy to start a book. So I have some ideas on how to start a book. And so here's just some ideas. And I call them, don't make these excuses. So the first excuse most people make is, I need more money when they write a book. So if you have a pad of paper and a pen, you can actually write a book. Most people have a computer right now, so you could write it on a Microsoft Word document on a computer, and we all have that. Pretty much all of us have at least that. So you don't really need more money, because yes, you need money to print the book and lay out the book a little, but you don't need as much as you think if you use My People, A, and B, you could just send out an ebook initially where you don't even have to print them out and just do a PDF of the entire book. Now you do need someone to lay out the book, but we have people that can do that very inexpensively. And if you're in my mastermind, I give you that information, just readily. So we use a bunch of people that I have sent. I've had 700 people, over 700 people write books using my How to Write a Book in 30-Day system, which I'm basically teaching you right now. So I need more money is the first excuse. That's not true. Number 2, I need more time. So I am probably one of the busiest people in the world. I might be tied with a lot of people, but I find it very hard to believe someone is busier than me. I've got 3 kids. I own a business. My wife owns a business. We have kids in Texas. My family's from New York and Florida. We go back. I mean, we are crazy 24/7. We don't go out a lot. We don't go out at all, kind of. We don't watch a lot of TV, although we are watching Ozark right now. Blow my mind. Oh my gosh, we just finished season 1. Oh my gosh. Something happened last night at the end of season 1. We were like, oh my gosh. If you need more time, then you got to do some time management, because if I can find the time to write 11 books, I'm sure you could find the time to write 1 book, because I will show you how easy it is to write a book in a couple of minutes. Number 3, I need a bigger office. That is the biggest excuse, because you don't need a bigger office. You actually just need little square about 3 feet by 3 feet. So you sit at your laptop and you just write. So you don't need a bigger office. That's just an excuse of, I need more space. You don't need more space to write a book. You could go outside, you could go to Starbucks, although you can't go to Starbucks right now, but eventually you could go back to Starbucks and write a book. But you could go in your backyard, you could go in a patio, you could go in a park if they let you to go in a park, but you don't need a big office. Number 4, I need a new computer. Now, my theory here is there's no such thing as a new computer, because as soon as the computer comes out, 5 minutes later, there's a new computer. And so you don't need a new computer, because you'll never, ever, ever have a new computer. Like, I have a new computer that I bought 4 years ago, and it's still, I would have bought 8 more computers. So you get the point. You don't need a new computer. Number 5, I don't know what to write about. So this is a great excuse, but this is where people make their biggest mistakes is, don't write about something that you don't know. So if you don't know what to write about, then you're not writing about what you know. So if you're a marketing expert, then you should write a book on marketing. If you're an expert on trees that grow in the forests, then write a book on trees that grow in the forest. Write about what you know. Don't go, I hear that this idea for a book makes a lot of money, I'm going to write about that. Well, then you're going to write a horrible book. So don't do that. So just write what you know. And the last thing is number 6. Here's the biggest excuse. I'm a terrible writer. So I didn't graduate college with a 4.0. I might not have even graduated with a 3.0. I think I did, but it was right around there. And I am not a great English course guy. I wrote good, but I'm grammatically okay. I learned over time, because I became a copywriter, how to be grammatically correct most of the time. But when you're writing a book, you're doing your voice. So you write a book as you speak. And if you are a terrible writer, you can still get people to a copy editor to punch it up, a proofreader to correct all the mistakes, or a ghostwriter to actually write the book for you. Now I'm going to share that Rick Frischman, he's the guy that runs Author 101 University. And I'm not sharing a secret because he tells everybody this on stage that he's written 14 books and he literally had a ghostwriter write all his books. Now he gives the idea for the book and he gives them an outline and he gives them ideas of what to write about. It's his system, but someone else does the actual writing of the book. So if you're a terrible writer, you can actually do that as well. And number 7, I've heard books don't make money. Here's my thinking on that. My books actually make some money, but I do not write books to make money on selling the book. I write books to market my business of me being a speaker and me being an expert in my field of marketing. That's why I write books. So if you're going in to writing a book because you want to make money, then you are an author only. And there's definitely ways of making money being an author only, but it's much harder. The idea is to write about your business and write about what your area of expertise is, and then use the book as a marketing tool to make more money in that business. And that's basically what I teach. And number 8, I've tried, but no one will publish my book. And that is very true because it's hard to get a publisher. But these days, I'd say I'm going to make up a number, 75, 80, 85% of the books that we see out there are all self-published or hybrid published. And we'll talk about that later. So you don't have to get a big publisher to get a book out there. I'll teach you how to self-publish it, and I'll point you in the direction of a hybrid publisher that I use, which means that you still own the book, but her name is Karen Strauss. She helps me publish the book, and she does all the work behind the scenes, but it's still my book. So it's self-publishing basically on steroids because she does all the work. All right, how to come up with ideas for writing a book. So this is what I do to come up with ideas for writing books, writing anything that I put up. I, number 1, carry a tape recorder everywhere. Now my tape recorder is actually my iPhone. In the iPhone, there's voice memos. There's a lot of apps that you turn your phone into a tape recorder. So obviously I take my phone everywhere. So whenever I think of a great idea, I just talk it into my phone, and then I just tell people, I just retype it in later what I already put into my phone. So I carry this thing everywhere I go because it's my phone. And every time I come up with a great idea for a chapter name, oh, my phone's going off. A chapter name or an idea for a bullet point in the chapter, or even a title of a new book or whatever, I just put it into my tape recorder, which is my phone. Number 2, take a shower. Initially, you're going to look, well, that's weird. But you will find, and I'm sure you're all agreeing with me right now, that the best ideas that you've ever come up in your life is when you're in the shower. We don't know why. I don't know why. It's because maybe the energy of the water or whatever it is. I think it's because we're more relaxed in the shower. And because we're relaxed, we're all of a sudden like able to think left brain, right brain, whatever that is. So I don't know, but when I write books, I take a ton of showers because I used to have this, and I don't have it anymore. Someone gave me a soy pencil and soy paper so I could actually write notes in the shower and it wouldn't get destroyed. I mean, these are the gifts that I get at my seminars because I kept telling you should take a shower, and so I get all these gifts. But there's you know, I actually leave another, not my phone, but another portable tape recorder in the shower. We have a very large shower, so it's in the section that doesn't get wet. And if I come up with an amazing idea that I won't remember in 5 minutes, then I actually do tape it into that thing. So I do have a tape recorder in the shower, but it's not plugged into electricity, so I'm not going to get zapped. Don't do that. Number 3, drive around town doing lots of monotonous errands. You will find every time you're driving, you come up with the greatest ideas in the world because you're not thinking. See, sitting in front of a computer and trying to write is virtually impossible. It's because you're focused on a set amount of time. I have 2 hours. The kids are gone, and I'm going to write my book now. And because now you haven't written anything, and now there's an hour and 59 minutes. And you haven't written anything, now there's an hour and 58 minutes. And now you start looking at the clock and went, oh my God, I just wasted 2 minutes and I haven't written anything. So then you start stressing, and it's hard to get started. But I have a way of actually getting started, even if you have that situation. But driving around town, doing lots of monotonous errands is where it's just like the shower. We're not thinking of writing the book, and that's where the ideas come. So once again, take your iPhone or your phone or your smartphone or your tape recorder, bring it in the car with you, and tape all those great ideas. When I'm writing a book, my wife is so happy because honey, do you need eggs? I'll go to the market for you. Honey, do you need this? I'll go to the market for you, because I want to be in my car to come up with new ideas. Number 4, while listening to music. Now, most of you will say, no, can't do that. I am one of these people, and I don't know how I do it or why I do it, that when I'm writing a book, I listen to music with words. And most of us would think there's no way I could write a book typing words while listening to other words in a song. And for some reason, I guess it's a left brain, right brain thing, that I can listen to words of a song and in my headphones, in my ear, loud, and still write different words on the screen. And I don't know why I can do that, but just try it. At least classical music where there's no words, at least try that, because it soothes the mind and then you're able to be more creative. So my go-to song, I have a go-to song that if I have writer's block, I use this song to get me through the writer's block. And the song is called What's Up, What's Up, What Is Up, What's Up by 4 Non-Blondes. It's a song that I loved a long, long time ago. And I've written numerous books and chapters for books using while that song was playing. So if I ever get in trouble where I can't think of anything to write, I just put that song on and something clicks and I'm able to write. So try to listen to music while you write. Great way to write a book is to have your own podcast, because on the podcast, you're sharing information on the podcast and teaching probably. And then you could have a book like Craig Duswalt's Top 50 Podcasts of 2020. And there's a book. So you record the podcast, you go to rev.com, rev.com, rev.com. You give them the 30-minute or 1-hour podcast and they transcribe it for you. And it's so cheap. I think for a 60-minute podcast, it was $60 to transcribe the whole thing. I think it's $1 a minute, which is ridiculous because you'd be surprised how long 1 hour of talking is in pages. But if you have your own podcast, it's a great way to come up with ideas, great way to position how you're going to write the book. Like, I'm going to talk about this now, then next week I'm going to talk about this. And then when you get all your podcasts together, then you could say, oh, I should talk about that one first in my blog, and then because this one leads into that one. But having a podcast is the easiest way to write a book. Another easy way to write a book is writing blog posts once a week, every day. So it takes the overwhelm away of writing a book. And you could just write blog posts about your business or your teachings. And then at the end of whatever, a couple of months or a year, whatever, you could turn your blog posts into a book as well. You could even say Craig Duswalt's Top 50 Blog Posts for 2020, and there's your book. So it's repurposing material that you've already done. Last one is make telephone calls. This is a great way to come up with ideas for your book, because if you're making telephone calls, you're usually talking to people about what you do in your business. So I'm talking about telephone calls to business associates, trying to get a new client, coaching calls, anything like that. So if you do these things, tape record your calls, because it's amazing the great information that will come out of these calls, because you're just teaching and you're not stressed on writing a book. So you just transcribe your taping of the telephone call, and then that's a starting point for a book. So the easiest way to write a book is not in here in the PowerPoint, so I'm just going to say it, is when you're sitting down at a computer, the hardest thing is to start. The first sentence is the hardest thing to do. So what I do every time I start, I open Microsoft Word and there's a blank page, and I just start typing anything, like something like, I'm looking outside in my backyard right now, wow, the pool looks really great today. I think I might go swimming. I would type that, even though I'm writing a book on marketing. I would type that. And what happens is your brain starts connecting your fingers to your brain, and you start writing stuff. And then sooner or later, even after 3 or 4 lines of nothing, stupid stuff, then you start thinking of, okay, what am I writing about marketing? Oh, oh, that's right, I was gonna do this. And what happens is it's easier to start that way, and then you just delete the first 3 sentences. But if you don't start writing something, the first 4 words are like the hardest to write. Like, you want it to be perfect, and don't go for perfection when you're starting to write a book. All you're trying to do is write something, and then you're gonna tweak it later anyway. So just start writing some nonsense, anything, and then sooner or later you'll get into the mode of where you wanna be. All right, why a small book? Really, really quick, why small books instead of these large books that a lot of people write? But I teach people to write small books, and the reason why is you become an immediate expert and celebrity in your field. While people are writing 200, 300-page books, if you write 96-page books, or Susie Pruden has these itty-bitty books that are 15 small chapters, I think they're like 30-something pages. If you do stuff like that, then the book is gonna come out faster, and then you're an immediate expert and celebrity in your field. But my Guns N' Roses book was like over 200 pages, and I used a publisher. From the day I actually got the publishing deal to the day it actually came out in the market was over 2 years. So if you're writing a book about your business, you do not want to wait 2 years, because the information you're going to write is going to be old, number one, and you're going to be onto something else. 96-page books are great. You get them out immediately, and you immediately become an expert in your field. Number 2, it's another source of income. Now, I just said before, don't focus on making money, use it as a marketing tool, but it is a source of income as well if you sell some books. Like if you're a speaker and you sell books at the back of the room for $10 to $15 each, and you sell 20 of them, there's $200 to $300 just for an extra income on a speaking gig. So it is some income, but don't think you're going to retire on the money you make from a book. It gives you the feeling of accomplishment. If you've written a book and you see it in print, something happens that day. You say all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I've done it. I'm somebody. Now, it also gives the person, if it's a 96-page book and easy to read, the feeling of accomplishment when they read the book. 300-page business books aren't read a lot, but a 96-page book that has a lot of white space in it is read. And if you give someone the feeling of accomplishment, they're going to really, in their mind, thank you for helping them read a business book. So they will then say, maybe I should go to this person's seminar. Maybe I should call them for coaching because I feel good about myself because I've accomplished reading a business book. So it works both ways, the feeling of accomplishment. My books, you could actually read in one sitting. Now, the gentleman listening to this, there's a room in the house where you could go for one sitting and read my book, and then be done and getting 2 things done at once. You know, I don't need to go there, but my point is, you could read my book in one sitting and get all the information right there. I've cut out all the fat. I've cut out all the fluff. It's just bullet points or quick paragraphs on what you need to do to market your business. Number 5, you could write more of them. If you write smaller books, instead of writing one big book, you cut it into smaller books, then you're a multi-author and you could write more books, even if it's along the same line, like my shoestring budget books. So I wrote those 4 books in 9 weeks, and all I did was cut out really chapters of a book and expanded on them. So you could write more books if you write smaller books. And you could turn them into a series. Think of Chicken Soup for the Soul. There's a ton of series books that you can, if you write smaller books, you could turn them into a series of books. And then once again, get more credit for writing more books. And then because it's going to be out faster than publishing a book, you can charge more money for mentoring and speaking. And that is just generally why you should write a book. If I'm going to go to a mentor or try to get booked as a speaker, or try to be a mentor to someone, having a book will once again set you off as the expert in your field, and you're more inclined to get a mentoring client or a speaking client because you have a book. Number 8 is a very effective networking tool. Most people give business cards out at networking events. I never do that. I never hand out business cards. I hand out my 96-page books because they're not expensive to print, not as expensive as like hardcover, bigger books, but soft cover 96-page books. You know, it changes. The price changes all the time. But I ordered 2,000 of them, and I get them for like a $1.25 a book. So yes, much more expensive than a business card. But if I could give out 50 books, I spent $65, whatever that is, at a networking event. But I gave out 50 books to people at a networking event. Believe me, they're going to remember me way more than the person handing out business cards, because they're going to be like, wow, this person read a book. And I'm telling you, if you're not in the seminar world and if you've written a book, you stand out from the 99% of the people that have not written books. And most people haven't written books. In our seminar world, we happen to know a lot of people that write books because I teach people to write books, and a lot of my people write books, and a lot of my people, some of them teach people to write books as well. And lastly, so you can argue with the people that write large books. That's why you should write a small book, because you can argue with people that wrote big books, because they're going to say, well, that's not a real book because it's small. And then you just say, yeah, but I have more of them than you. You've written one large book and I've written 5 small books. So I'm a 5-time author and you're a 1-time author. Just fuel for when they try to come back at you. You have a lot of benefits as well. All right. Quickly, types of book titles. These are just going to give you an idea of some book titles. Let's just take a drink. All right, so types of book titles. So there's short titles. The first one, The Secret. And that was this big thing on written by a bunch of speakers that, or, you know, everyone knows that book, The Secret. The Secret. The next book was called Influence, but it really was the psychology of persuasion was the tagline, even though it goes to the top and the bottom. But the name of that book was Influence. That was great. And then The 4-Hour Workweek, that's a short title as well. But his tagline was Escape 9 to 5, Live Anywhere, and Join the New Rich. And that book was huge. But those are samples of some short titles. Then here's a sample of a long title. And I believe in long titles, and I'm just showing you my book because that's a long title. Marketing Your Small Business on a Shoestring Budget. And yes, that is a very long title. But my argument is, if you don't know what this book is about after reading the title of my book, you're an idiot, and then I don't want you to be a client anyway. So you would know it's very clear what this book is about, and that's much better than coming up with a clever name that no one knows anything about. A shock title, here's a sample of that, Skinny Bitch in the Kitsch. This was a pretty big book at the time it came out. Metaphors, Who Moved My Cheese, was not a book about mice or rats. It was a book about management. The 1-Minute Manager, Ken Blanchard, wrote this book, and it was huge. Common Saying with a Twist, Girls Just Want to Have Funs, playing off the fun, Girls Just Want to Have Fun song by Cyndi Lauper. And then I put my book on here because I'm going to share something. Welcome to My Jungle. Guns N' Roses' song was Welcome to the Jungle. Now, a lot of people ask me, are you allowed to use that title? And I talked to my intellectual property lawyer, and what it is you can't trademark a title of a book or a movie or something like that. So I was allowed to use this, and they were, wait, I'm going backward, wrong way. They were allowed to use this, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, obviously playing off a very popular song. So check with your intellectual property lawyer, but just know there are books out there that have a common saying with a twist, and it is okay. The next one, series title. So if you think you're going to write a bunch of books with the same title, Chicken Soup for the Soul was the first one. Then they have Chicken Soup for the Women's Soul, for the Pet Soul. They have so many books. I don't even know how many books they have now, but I'm sure it's in the hundreds. And it's just Chicken Soup for the Something Soul. And if you want to do that, you need to know that up front before you start writing your series, because you can look into the future of how you want this to play out. So that was what I was doing with my shoestring budget books, was going to have a series. I was going to have marketing your small business on a shoestring budget, and then marketing for nurses on a shoestring budget, written by me and a nurse, or something like that. That was the idea. And then I switched everything to RockStar, which was a blessing, trust me. But you should know up front, if you want a series, what that looks like in the end, how that will progress. Here's some creative titles just to give you ideas. These are actual books. First one, Cynthia Heimel writes these funny books. If You Can't Live Without Me, Why Aren't You Dead Yet? That's a title of her book. Another book, Dave Barry's Stay Fit and Healthy Until You're Dead. Well, that's good advice right there. Dave Barry's has another book, Babies and Other Hazards of Sex. How to Make a Tiny Person in Only 9 months with tools you probably have around the home. I mean, right there. Now, that book has sold more than 684,000 copies at the time I did this, which was like probably 8 years ago, at least 8 years ago. So another great idea for a fun book. And then Cynthia Heimel again, Get Your Tongue Out of My Mouth, I'm Kissing You Goodbye. Just a funny title for a book, and I just think that's funny. So those are some ideas for books. Now I'm going to give you 6 ideas for writing a book, 6 book ideas, not ideas for writing a book. So these are 6 books that you can write pretty much immediately. I'm actually going to add a 7th book that Joe Polish from the Genius Network just shared on my at my event, my Rock Your Life Experience online event a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to add a 7th one. Actually, I'll do that one first, so I don't forget to do this for you. So the first idea for a book that you can write really fast is he every day was starting to write down one thing that he was grateful for that day, or which was a life lesson, some sort of life lesson. That's what it was, a life lesson that he learned that day. So he went through the day, and he said, at the end of the day, he said, all right, there's got to be one lesson that I learned today. And whatever that lesson was, he just wrote it down in the book. And so he did that for 365 days. And he said, I'm just turning this into a book. 365 Life Lessons was the name of the book, written by Joe Polish. Now, I don't know if he's doing that, but he suggested that we all do it. And I thought, what an easy way to write a book. Every day you're going to learn something. We all learn something every day. Just write it down in a journal, anything, or type it out. And then at the end, you just gave it to someone to lay it out. And you put like 3 to 5 of them on a page, depending how long they are. And you got a 200-page book just like that. And that's like a bigger book, but it's 365 life lessons. Who's not going to buy that book? I mean, that's one of those books that people will buy, and it's so easy to write, and it takes the overwhelm away. You're writing one little thing a day, and it's a lesson which teaches you what you learned for the day. And when you write it down, it's just a blessing anyway that you've written it down. Never mind that you're going to now make money on a book or become an expert because you wrote a book on life lessons. So that would be number A, letter A. Book number 1, excuse me. Book number 1, I'll let you read this and I'll take a drink. A book with your favorite quotes from other leaders that relate to your brand. So if I'm writing a book, 50, Craig Duswalt's 50 favorite marketing quotes, I would go to Google and type in marketing quotes. And believe it or not, there's thousands of them. You type in leadership quotes, thousands of them. Anything you type in the word quote, inspirational quotes, motivational quotes, anything, there's tons of them out there. And the author's name of the quote is out there as well. So I tell people, if you want to write a quick book, you could write this tonight. You could just go to Google and get 50 of your favorite quotes, add some of your favorite quotes in there as well. So it's not just about other people. And as long as you give them credit in the quote, now check with your intellectual property lawyer, this is my disclaimer, but people do it all the time. You could put a quote in there and put their name as giving them credit, and everyone's going to want to be in your book because you're giving them credit and it's free publicity for them. So it's a no-brainer. But then you now have a book of 50 quotes or whatever number you want, and then you slap your picture on the front cover, your name on the front cover, the title of the book. You put 50 quotes, one on each page, And then on the back page, you just have a graphic of something, and the same graphic all the time throughout the book. And you have now a 96-page book, a 100-page book, really. And all you did was get a bunch of quotes, and you put one quote per page, and then you put your picture and your name on the front cover, like I just said, and you're an expert in that field because you've written a book. No one understands that all you did was take 50 quotes. I get it, but you still compiled it and put it into a book, which 99% of the people don't do. So that's the easiest way to become an author, and you could do that in one night. I have this contest at my seminars where I say you could write that tonight, and if you've written a book by tonight and it's up on Amazon tomorrow morning, I will promote it. And last boot camp I did that at, which I'll never do again, there were like 20 people that did that, which was crazy. Book number 2, the second book that you can do really fast, a book that describes your system or your program in steps. So my RockStar System for Success book was the acronym RockStar, RockStar. And I just did, chapter 1 was the R, chapter 2 was the O, chapter 3 was the S. Like chapter 1 was reinvent yourself, 2 was overindulge on the internet, 3 was something else. I forget what they were, but anyway, because it was written a long time ago. But a step-by-step program for your system, step-by-step program or a step-by-step system. So if people want to work with you or they want to understand what you do, you walk them through it and you teach them why each of these steps, each of these chapters is important. So book number 2 is just a step-by-step system or program that you already know because it's your program. Book number 3 is what I'm basically doing now. A book with 50, I'm just making up a number, any number is fine, to 1,000, I'm actually doing 1,001. A book with 50 to 1,001 quick bullet point tips based on your area of expertise. So my new book, 1,001 Ways to Rock Your Life, I'm doing 101 tips, and then I have a bunch of guest authors giving their tips on anything to do with business or motivation or inspiration or life lessons or something, and they're quick 75 words or less bullet points that people can read. You can read 5 at a time, 10 at a time, and it's just almost like a reference book to inspire you. And you guys can do that all day long. Just get your friends to write some, or you just write your 50 tips on whatever your area of expertise is. Your 50 tips, bullet point, quick tips, and it's a shorter book, and then people don't have to read long paragraphs. Book number 4 is a book of interviews taken from your radio show, your podcast, your YouTube show, whatever you have, you're interviewing people all the time. Same as that thing I was talking about before, the podcast or the blog post, repurposing it. You're going to interview people, go to rev.com, have them transcribe the interview, and there's copy and paste and put it into a book and say, Craig Duswalt's top 10 interviews of 2020. And you list the authors in the book that are with you, the people that you interviewed, and then you have a book. And all you're doing is repurposing stuff that already exists. Book number 5 is a book, we talked about that, but I'm just putting it in here, a book that you could write fast, top 25 blog posts from the year. Choose your favorite blog posts from the year and turn that into a book. And then book number 6 is what I focus on now as a compilation book with numerous authors based again on your area of expertise. So I've done 1, my wife has done 2, and I've done 3. So it's a compilation book where you write 1 chapter and your favorite people or people that pay you money to write in your chapter, write in your book, and then you put it out. Here's the idea behind it. So I charge people to write in my compilation books because I have to pay for the proofreading, I have to pay for the copy editing, I have to pay for the layout, I have to pay for the book covers and the design of the book covers, and I have to pay for all the printing of the book, and then I give everybody a certain amount of copies. So, and then there's an expense there as well. So I take all the expense on, but I charge people. I don't make a ton of money. People usually charge like $5,000 to $7,000 per person to be in a book. I charge like $500 to $1,000. It is nothing compared to the marketing that you're going to get from being in the book. So I charge very little to be in it, but and I make a couple of bucks, but not a lot. But the reason why I do them is it helps promote my brand. So my brand is RockStars or Rock Your Life. So there's books out there that say that, and all the authors in the book are going to be handing them out and selling them to their people. So my brand gets out there. So I don't need to make a killing on the money. I just want as many authors in the book as possible, and it promotes them as well. So if you want to do something like that, it's the greatest idea on how to make a couple of bucks, plus get your brand out there as well. And you're promoting a bunch of great stories and people anyway. All right, I'm gonna take a drink for a second, because now we're gonna do the system on how to write a book. It basically looks like this. So this isn't the greatest picture, but this is the one that I have when I was a sample of writing a book. So the idea is to get these different colored stickies, and I'm gonna annotate here. Hold on one second. The first row, this whole row right here, are all the chapter names. These are all the chapter names. Now, most of them are pink, but you notice this little pink one down here? That used to be here, but the orange one took it over, because while I was writing the book, the orange one, I mean, this pink one didn't make a sense being there, and I came up with a new one. And the reason why I did it in a different color is I want to remember that I made a change there. That was a change that I made from when I originally had the chapters for this book. So a different colored sticky is a change that I made. So then you go down here, and then these are all the tips of each chapter. These are, I call them tip headlines. So all these, and I try to make them as many different colors as possible, are all the tips for this chapter. This chapter, and here are the tips. This chapter, and here are the tips. This chapter, and here are the tips, and so on. So now I have a blueprint of my book. So I know the chapter names and all the tip headlines that are in each chapter. So now there's on my wall, the big wall that I have a bunch of stickies up there, and it's a blueprint. So now if this one is similar to this one, I look back at it and I go, oh, wait a minute, I'm kind of talking about that here and here. So I might get rid of that sticky and just incorporate whatever I was going to talk about here, because it made better in this row, in this chapter, better than it did here. So that's where you can move things around and keep the same color, because if you want to go back, because something didn't make sense, then you could put it back to where it was before, because it goes under that color. So that's the idea of how to lay out a book on a big either wall or a dining room table with different colored stickies. So I have tons of different colored stickies, and all I do is write on them quick notes. That's the system, and that's what it looks like there. Now I'm going to give you what it actually turns out to be, and I have to get out of here first. All right, so this is the Rock Your Life step-by-step system on how to write a book. So first of all, you have to know, what kind of book do you want to write? Now, once again, this is all being recorded, and you're going to get the recording of this. So you don't really have to write these down. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. So you have to realize, what kind of book do you want to write? Is it a 600-page manual? No, don't do that. Is it an autobiography? You can, if you're famous, or if you have an amazing story, you could write an autobiography. You could write a history book if you want. Just got to do tons of research. You could write a fiction book, which is like a novel. Must be a great writer, though, if you want to do a fiction book, which is like a novel or a true story. Children's books are great to do. Those are fiction books. They're great, but the only problem with a children's book is it costs more money to print if you're doing illustrations and it's in color. So just know up front, like Carol Soloway, Dr. Carol, just wrote a book, The Surprise Circus, and it's got illustrations in it, and she printed them out, and they look amazing. But just know it's a little bit more money, probably a lot more money, than printing a black and white regular book. So great idea to write children's books, but you should definitely just know there's more of a cost for printing those. And then last, this is what I focus on, nonfiction books is a great market, especially right now. Everyone wants to learn something new about an area that they're very interested in. And if you just write a halfway decent book, you're going to get out there. A small tips book about your business is a great idea for a nonfiction book. All right. So first thing you have to know is, what is your topic for the book? And here's the most popular fiction topics. First one is young adult and children's books. Those are the most popular. Then they're called chick lit books. Smart and light fiction, especially for young single women. That's a very popular fiction topic. Detective, cop, courtroom drama books are huge, especially because all those shows on TV are out right now, like Dateline and what's the one that I watch all the time? Anyway, you know what it is. The courtroom dramas, the Forensic Files is a huge one. Historical love is just, need I say more? Historical love, and love is a great topic. Adventures of friends, loved and lost, and personal success, followed by crisis, acceptance, new perspective. So that one is what every speaker is. Pretty much every speaker out there is this. They had a crisis, they accepted it, they have a new perspective on it, and they have personal success because of this. Or they had success first, then they had a crisis, then they accepted what it was, and then they have a new perspective on everything. The worst story you have growing up, the better speaker you are. It's sad to say, but you have things that people have in the past that they're going through now. You went through it, but you were able to overcome it. Like cancer is a huge one. I hate saying this even word, but molestation, all that stuff is great. It's not great that you were molested, obviously, but it's great because there's so many people being molested that if you were and you were able to get over it, you had a crisis, you accepted it, and you have a new perspective on it, and now you're teaching ways to get through it like you did. That's the key, and that's great for books as well, and a speaking topic. So most popular non-fiction speaking topics are eating, dieting, weight loss, working out. Need I say more? It's a $1 business. Kids, parenting. Obviously with the boomers, that's pretty popular right now. Wealth, rich, money-making, retiring, working less. Everyone wants to make more money, different ideas on how to retire, how to make more money and work less. Great nonfiction topics. Motivation, self-improvement is very huge right now. The secrets, the secret, all the above by wishing, dreaming, MLM, spirituality, all those are very, very big as well. All right. How do you come up with an idea for your book? I already did this. I just put it in here. I'm just going to go through these fast just to have in this slide. I forgot to take this one out. So write what you know. Pick a niche I added that. I teach marketing. I originally taught marketing, but I teach marketing to entrepreneurs specifically. So I niched down marketing to entrepreneurs. I also teach marketing to corporations as well, and I speak to corporations, but I don't promote it as much as entrepreneurs. Small business versus creating wealth. Those were my little books. All right, the title of your book. Title should help sell the book. We talked about this before, marketing a small business on a shoestring budget. If you want to save money on marketing, you should buy that book. You should come up with a title that helps sells your book. The title should be obvious, nothing cute. Now, people do come up with clever ideas for titles, but as a first-time author or even an author trying to promote their business, cute needs to be explained a lot more than an obvious title that helps sells your book. So my suggestion is to be as obvious as possible. How-to books are great. Secrets revealed are great. Marketing your small business, that's what I did. Use positive language in your title as well. Oh, sorry. I went back and I shouldn't have gone back because now I got to go through these. I hit the wrong button. So using positive language in your title is key. the word no, don't, all that is bad in a title for a book. Try to be as positive as possible in your title. All right, great book titles. I went through these already, so I'm just going to go through this again. You already saw this because I gave you the pictures. The subtitle of a book. Nonfiction books, which are books about your business or books about motivation, inspiration, usually have a subtitle explaining more of the title. Even my Marketing a Small Business on a Shoestring Budget has a subtitle, and I think it is, I have it right here. It is Quick and Easy Tips to Help You Save a Ton of Money in Marketing and Advertising. So think of this, my book title, Marketing Your Small Business on a Shoestring Budget, tagline, Quick and Easy Tips to Help You Save a Ton of Money on Marketing and Advertising. So the subtitle tagline is even just as long as the title, and that's okay because once again, everyone knows what my book is about. Try to include benefits in your subtitles instead of features. We always talk about that, features versus benefits. What are they going to benefit from reading your book? Subtitles explain the title more in depth, obviously. Like Fast and Easy Tips is a great way to start a subtitle. 100 ways to, great way to start a subtitle. 7 secrets that will, great way to start a subtitle. Then chapter titles. The chapter titles for each chapter are very, very important. Now I do acronyms a lot. Like I said, I did the acronym RockStar. So I had 8 chapters. Chapter 1 was R, Reinvent Yourself. Chapter 2 was O, Overindulge in the Internet, spelling out the word Rockstar. So before you come up with your chapter titles, you need to know how many chapters you are going to do at first glance. So if you have an 8-step system for your business, then obviously you're going to do 8 chapters. If you have a 4-step system, you can do 4 chapters. If you have a 12-step system, you do 12 chapters. That's the idea of coming up with chapter names. Each step of your system or each step of your program should be its own chapter. So the idea is to come up with what you teach, specifically what you teach, and turn them into like lessons, little lessons, and those will be your chapters. And then for the chapter titles, you're going to name each chapter. Now I stay away from chapter 1, chapter 2, because I think I could be a little bit more clever than that. That's why I use acronyms to do my names. It's a great way to do it. If you have a brand, using the acronym is great. But some people use like movie titles. I've had a book where I use titles. My RockStar System for Success book, I use titles of songs for each chapter and each tip as well. So there's ways to be clever. Movie titles, song titles, anything like that. If you're writing a book on trees, you know, each chapter, I keep saying trees. I don't even know why I keep saying trees. I know why, because I'm looking at trees outside my yard. But like you would have the first chapter on palm trees, second chapter, eucalyptus. You get the point. Whatever your area of expertise is, come up with chapter names specific for each lesson that you're going to teach. Try to have a consistent theme. So when I write books, my RockStar System for Success, I just said, all my book chapter names and tip names were song titles. So I had a theme throughout. Don't mess up the theme. Be consistent on your theme, whatever that is you have going. All right, so the actual tip. So you already came up with the name of the book, the chapter names, now the actual tips. In each chapter, you're going to have tips, a bunch of tips. Now you can write it as one long paragraphs, and just do like novel form, but I highly suggest turning it into little tips inside the chapters. So the tips you need to know, and this is where the board comes into play with all the sticky notes, how many tips are you going to have per chapter? So if I have 8 chapters, chapter 1 will have 5 tips, that's 5 sticky notes. Chapter 2 will have 3 tips, so there's 3 sticky notes. So you need to know how many tips you have per chapter. Each tip can be short or long. There can be a short tip, it's a quickie, or a long tip that goes actually for a page and a half, because you have to explain a little bit more. In the tip, when you're writing this book and you're putting them on the stickies, describe exactly what you're going to talk about. You don't have to write the whole thing yet. You're just going to write a bunch of words on there that describe what you will talk about in that tip. Don't just say marketing, because that's everything. So if you're writing a marketing book and one of your tips is marketing, don't just write marketing. Get more specific on the sticky note what piece of marketing you're going to talk about. So you've written now in Microsoft Word now, you've taken the board that you already had with the chapter names up top and all the stickies underneath. Now you go to Microsoft Word and you type in all the chapter names and all the tips underneath each chapter name. So it'll be chapter 1, that name of the chapter, all the tips under chapter 1, and then chapter 2, all the tips under chapter 2. Then you're just going to add now on Microsoft Word. So you're not going to do this in stickies. This is where now you're in Microsoft Words, you're going to put the bullet points of all the tips. So you have the chapter name, then you have the tip itself in each chapter, and then for each tip, you're going to write the bullet points of the things you want to talk about when you talk about that tip. So it'll be like, just know they're temporary and they're not going to appear in the book. This is only for you to remember what you will be talking about in each tip. So when you look at this later on, you're going to look at it and have a blueprint on Microsoft Word of everything that you're talking about in the book. And if you've duplicated some things, this is the time before you start writing the actual book that you will see, wait a minute, I have that bullet point under chapter 2, tip 2, and the same idea is under chapter 6, tip 4. So you would mesh those in together and find a better place to put that. But these bullet points under each tip aren't going to appear in the book. They're just your reminders of what you're talking about in that tip. And then it's just a guideline, like I just said, of where you're going with the book. And you're going to write a few bullet points for each tip. So don't just write one bullet point for each tip. In each tip, you're going to have a couple of ideas probably in that tip. Make sure that you write full bullet points, and it's not a long paragraph. It's a sentence, one bullet point sentence for each one. And basically it's one tip per thought per paragraph. So the tip will probably be a paragraph long. And if it's just a quick tip, then it's probably one tip for that paragraph. If it's a long one, you're probably going to have 2, 3, or 4 bullet points to talk about that one tip. And that's per paragraph. I call them a paragraph each. Then the content. So now you have the chapter names, you have the tips, you have the bullet points that go into the tip. And that's when you look back at it and you say you have the whole book laid out. Because now if you gave that to a ghostwriter, they would be able to write the entire book for you because you've basically given them everything. But if you're going to write the book, which I suggest, now comes the content, now the actual writing of the book. So you have a Microsoft Word document, you could print it out off to the side, and it's chapter, like I said, you're just going to focus on chapter 1 if you want. Chapter 1, then it has the tips that you have in chapter 1, and each tip has bullet points under each tip. Now it's time to write the content. But here's the beauty of this system. If you don't feel like writing about what was in chapter 1 today, you can skip all over and jump anywhere you want. If you feel like writing about something that was in chapter 6, tip 2, you could write that content today because I'm feeling that today and I know more about that. And the beauty of it is you can skip all around your entire board or Microsoft Word document and just put a little check next to which one you've already filled the content. The content is the actual writing of the actual tip and the bullet points of the tip, writing it out. You have everything you need right there. You're going to expand each bullet point in detail. You're going to write whatever comes to your mind. Don't be perfect yet. Just write. And then write like you speak, like advertising. Do not try to be grammatically correct when you are writing this section. This is the actual content of the book. Everyone tries to be perfect and grammatically correct with commas. Leave that to the copy editors. Leave that to the proofreaders. Just get everything down. It does not have to be perfect at that point because you're going to get somebody to punch it up later. you're never going to be perfect. No one's going to be perfect unless you're a proofreader and a copywriter. So just do it the way you would write, and then they can punch it up. Now, my biggest problem is tenses, T-E-N-S-E-S, tenses. Sometimes I'm writing and I'm in present tense, then I go to past tense, then I'm back to present tense, and then I'm in future tense, and then I look at it and go, well, that's a mess. And then I give it to my copy editor, and then it comes back perfect, and it's in the same tense. So I have people that can do that if you want me to help you with your book, and that would be like in my mastermind. All right, so that's the content. Then the edit, which I kind of just talked about. After you write the entire book, take a day or two off and just like absorb the book, take a day off. Then read the book as a whole to see if it flows. So then your job now is to just read the whole book and say, does that make sense? Did I go in order of what to do in order to accomplish what I want them to accomplish? Proofread it at your best ability at this point, and give it to a friend to look at. Before it even goes to like a copy editor or a proofreader, I give my books out to 5 friends that actually know how to read. It would be actually good to give it to someone that knew how to read. That's just a little tip. If they don't know how to read, pass them up. Just give it to another friend. Give it to 5 people that know how to read and ask them to read it for you. They're going to get free information because they didn't have to buy the book, and they're helping you out. And then they'll give you notes. So before it even goes to a copy editor and a proofreader, there's some pretty good people out there that just catch the obvious things. Like Y-O-U-R as opposed to Y-O-U''re is huge. The is, remember there's words that spell check won't catch because it's actually correctly spelled. It's just in the wrong place at the time. And proofreading is very hard to do because we're all looking at the sentence as a whole, and trust me, we miss things. But giving it to 5 people, they're going to catch some things. All right, so you have, so the question is, so do I have to write the book myself? And I always say you can if you want to, but you don't have to. You can hire a ghostwriter. Now, ghostwriters, if you just gave them a title of a book and said go, they're like $20,000 to $50,000. So you don't want to do that. But if you get to the point where you've come up with the title of the book, the subtitle of the book, the chapter names, the tips in each chapter, and the bullet points in each chapter, in each tip, you've basically written the book. They just have to now fill in the blanks, and it won't even cost, it won't cost close to, $25,000 to $50,000. It won't even come close to that. It would be in the $1,000 to $5,000 range. And I know a bunch of people that are ghostwriters, so we have various levels of how good they are, where they're experts in. Some of them are experts in more technical writing. Some of them are experts in novels. Some of them are experts in nonfiction, but we have the gamut. You can go yourself to elance.com, and trust me, I know there's a million of them. The idea is just go to an online temp agency, basically like an Elance, and try to get people to bid for your job, and then they bid against each other. Editors also bid for your job. Proofreaders bid for your job. Graphic designers to design the covers and design the pages bid for your job as well. So you can get everybody on elance.com and a million sites like that as well if you want them to help you write your book. If you're in my mastermind, I can give you tons of resources for that. All right, so self-publishing, if you want to self-publish the book, here are the little details that you have to know about. This is self-publishing if you want to do everything yourself and save a lot of money because you're going to do everything. So you have to get an ISBN number. That stands for International Standard Book Number. They're standard on all books. And if they're not on the back of the book, it's not a real book. You can go to www.isbn.org. It's one place to get ISBN numbers. You can buy one ISBN number, 10, 100, or 1,000 ISBN numbers. If you're a new writer, just get one. I personally bought 10 ISBN numbers because it was cheaper to buy 10 than 10 times. So I just bought 10 in bulk, and I've used I think I've used 7 of them because Karen Strauss is publishing my book through Hybrid Publishing, and she's using her ISBNs. So I did a bunch of self-publishing books in the beginning. And I think I've used, and my wife too. She's a Modeling Secrets Revealed book. My son Tyler's book. Those were all ISBN numbers that I used. So I bought 10, and I forget how much it was. And then you got to get a barcode for the book. So you get the ISBN number first, and then just Google how to get a barcode, because there's a million companies. I think I used createbarcodes.com way back when, and I'm sure there's new companies out there. Just Google how to get a barcode, how to get an ISBN, and do the research on the cheapest one. And then because you have a barcode with the ISBN, then it can go to Amazon.com and bookstores, and you could get barcodes through ISBN. And I think it was createbarcodes.com. But if it's not still there, I think it is. But if they're not still there, just Google how to get a barcode for a book, and trust me, you'll have 4 million choices. More self-publishing details. Make sure. Now this sounds stupid. I'm going to say something that you'll laugh like, really, dude? I know somebody that did a book and forgot to put their name on the front cover of the book. So I just want to put it out there. Make sure your name is on the front cover of the book. Inside title page. Excuse me. Make sure that you have an inside title page. It's basically it's basically the cover of the book as the first page of the book. These are little details that if you had my How to Write a Book in 30-Day system, that you would see exactly what this is. So you could get that later. Self-publishing, so make sure you name it. Inside title page. Next one is a copyright page, who the publisher is, the year of the copyright. Then you have these all rights reserved paragraph printed in the United States if it is, the ISBN number, who designed the cover, who laid out the book, who is the photographer, and a disclaimer at the bottom. So that's basically a copyright page. You are the publisher of the book if you're self-publishing. Then there's always a dedication page. You can dedicate the book to me if you want. My name is Craig Duswalt. Just dedicate the book to me, since I basically just told you how to write a book. And then just put my website and put links to my, I'm kidding. Just dedicate the book to me. Or your mom or dad, or a loved one, or me, or someone else, or me. No, don't do it to me. Well, you can if you want. All right, so list some other books or products. It's a great opportunity to list your other books if you have other books, other products. That's just another thing that you would put in before the book starts in one of the pages. Make sure you have a table of contents and the correct page that new chapter starts. Believe it or not, that's a big one that people mess up on. Your bio, put your biography in there. 1 page is good, 1-page bio. An introduction for the book and overall what they're going to get out of the book. Put that before you start the book. Put your website address at the bottom of every page. That's what I do. Every other page I have www.craigduswalt.com. I did that on a lot of my books. My Guns N' Roses book I didn't because I had a publisher, but all the other books, many of the other books have my website address on the bottom. So here's a little tip. Put the pages of your book should be in multiples of 16. It's less expensive to print. So what that means is, if you're printing a book perfect bound, which is on a gigantic press, if you have 96 pages of a book, that's a division of 16. 80 is another one. So if you have 80 pages, that's good. If you have 84 pages, and I'm going to make up a number because I don't know the exact thing, but let's just say you have an 88-page book. I'll go 88. It's actually cheaper to print a 96-page book than an 88-page book because they're not using all the paper perfectly than if you were to do a division of 16, because 16 go up on the printing press very nicely. So I always say, do an 80-page book, excuse me, a 96-page book, a 112-page book, you get the idea. For a perfect bound book, which is a real book that has a spine, that you can put your words, your title of the book on the spine of the book, minimum of 64 pages for a spine. Now, I know there are smaller books that are out there. Like, I think the Itty Bitty Books has a spine, if I'm not mistaken, with Susie Pruden. I think they actually have a spine too, and hers are smaller. So I'm comfortable saying minimum of 64 pages for a spine, but I think you could even go less now because they've figured this out. But I'd say 64 pages is minimum to get a decent spine where you could actually read the title on the side. So this way, when you put it on a bookshelf, you can see the title of the book on the spine and not have to lay it flat. All right, the book is done. Now what? Now you sleep for a year. No. So you have to get a seller's permit. It's a local thing that you just apply. Just type in seller's permit and your city that you live in or the state that you live in. I have a seller's permit because you have to charge tax when you sell a book. So when you sell these books, charge tax, like on my website, I forget what it is, the tax, and then I charge shipping, and you have to report it to, I think it's the EDD or whatever it's called, I think it is, whatever. Just find out who the seller permit. Once you get a seller's permit, they'll give you all that information. I've been doing it for so long, I forget where it goes, but I'm pretty sure it's like EDD. The seller permits this orange piece of paper, and you have to charge tax. Now, if you give out free books, see what I do is I pay tax on the books when I buy the books. So I pay tax on the books already. So I don't even know if I really have to charge tax again, but I do it anyway because I don't want to be in trouble with this tax thing. So I pay tax when I buy the books, and I also charge tax when I sell them. But if I give them away, not making any money, I can't charge tax on free, but I'm covering my butt just in case they say, well, you gave them out for free, you should charge tax. And I would say, how do I charge tax on free? Which I know I would win, but I pay the tax on the actual books when they come to me as well, just to cover my butt. But you need a seller's permit to sell books. Get a website for the book and sell them. We do these whole thing. I do seminars on how to set up websites and all that. Just look for my information online, and my mastermind knows where to find me. But get a book for the website and sell them on your website. Give books away at charity events and raffles. Every time someone asks me to donate something, I put baskets together with my books in there, a couple of bottles of wine, because my books are much better after a bottle of wine. I think actually a lot of books are much better after a bottle of wine, I have found out. So I donate these to charities a lot, my books and raffles. Glorified business card. A glorified business card is, like I said before, I don't hand out business cards. I hand out books instead. Sell them if you ever speak somewhere, anywhere. Most people say, yeah, I spoke at this event. And I'm like, did you sell your books? And they're like, no, I didn't feel it was the right audience to sell my book. Sell your book every time you speak. Now, if you're a keynote speaker and you're getting paid to speak, you got to ask them if it's okay to sell my book here, because you are getting paid. 99% of them will say, yes, sell your book. Now, if they don't say yes, and I made a good amount of money on my book, then I will actually give them out for free to their audience. If they paid me to be a speaker and it was a good amount to pay to speak on the stage, then I'm going to give free books out to everyone, because once again, that in my mind, it's free advertising to everybody in the audience that they have my book now. And I made enough money on the keynote speech where I can afford to give away about $1.25 per person, unless it's like 1,000 people, then you want to maybe rethink that. 12 ways, I have 12 ways to repurpose your book's content. So you write a book first. If you write it first, then there's ways to repurpose that book. Or you do all these things first and then you write a book. But here's just a bunch of ways to repurpose your book. Write articles for your local newspaper or any magazine, taking your tips. So I have, in my books, have about 60 tips in each book. So I would take each tip and turn it into an article and then send it to my local newspaper or send it to a magazine. So I'm taking just one tip of my book and just turning it into a bigger article. Do that. E-courses is what we're all doing right now, online courses. You can take the whole book and do an online course for your entire book, or you could do little little sections and just talk about one tip and expand on each tip. And then if you have 60 tips in the book, imagine how big that online course could be, because you would expand on 60 tips. And in each e-course subject could be one tip. If you could talk about it for like 15 to 20 minutes, and then you have 60 of those, that would be very powerful. Audiobooks, I have not done that yet. Bo Eason just did that. He had his A-game book. There's no plan B for your A-game. And he went into a studio in our local neighborhood, and he did the audio book on that book. And he said it was not easy. You know, you got to read your book. So I haven't done that, but it is a great way to repurpose your book, especially if it's a short book. Workbooks or action guides. I call them action guides or success guides. I try not to call them workbooks because no one really likes to work. So I call them action guides, and now I'm calling them success guides, that I've turned my actual book into a guide that you could actually work through and fill in blanks and do some work, even though we hate work, do some work on yourself through the action guide and the success guide, which is an offshoot really of your book. Coaching programs, this is the biggest one. You can make a lot of money selling coaching programs for what you teach in your book, because the book is the overall system of what you teach. But now a coaching program is now customized, taking your book and customizing it for a specific client. So that's why coaching programs are great right now, because most people just tell me what you know, how you did it. That's all I want to know. I don't even want to read your book. Just tell me what you did, and I just want to do exactly what you did, and I'll just spin it towards my brand. That's a coaching program. Keynote speaking, obviously you're going to take what you wrote in your book and turn it into a keynote speech, and then get paid to be a keynote speaker. At events, breakout sessions even. If there's people doing breakout sessions, you can teach some of your tips, your top 10 tips in a breakout session. Seminars, I highly suggest everyone do their own seminar. That's what I do. I do these boot camps. I do these Rock Your Life experience events, Rock Your Life celebration weekends, all based on books that I've written and teachings that I've done over the last 14 years. Corporate training programs are taking your information, going into corporations and teaching your program to small groups in the corporation. So like a sales team, if you wrote a book on sales, go into corporations and ask their corporation, can I talk to your sales team and do training programs for them based on your book that you've written. Boot camps, basically seminars, big ones, same exact thing as seminars. I call them boot camps. Home study courses, a little different than e-courses. Home study courses where they actually get a CD or a DVD, and then they have a success guide that goes with it, and they work on it at home. And it's actually, you can turn your book into an actual home study course. And it's just a tweak really of what you've done, but just add some blanks and add some areas like the action guides or success guides where they fill things out. But you call it a home study course, so they actually do it at their home. And smaller books. Like I said, if you wrote a large book, you can now turn your books into smaller books. If you've done a podcast, turn them into small books. YouTube series, turn them into small books. You get the idea. I've talked about it numerous times. So here now is this is in my How to Write a Book in 30 Days system. Actually, everything that I'm teaching today is in my How to Write a Book in 30 Days system, everything. It's just more laid out in that system, but here's everything that I just talked about is in there. And now I'm going to go through the exact what you do every single day for 30 days. So day one of your 30-day How to Write a Book in 30 days, day one is this: finalize your topic, your idea, the title, and the subtitle. Now, you've probably been doing this for a very long time already, but today, day one, is the day you finalize the topic, the idea that you're writing about, the title, even if it's just a working title, and the subtitle. So all you have to do really all day is really come up with the title and the subtitle of the book, and you should know the idea and the topic by now because you've been thinking about it for a while. So that's an easy day one. Day two, you're just going to write your chapter names. Now I'm assuming, like I say at the top, this is your 30-day schedule based on a book that is 10 chapters long and there's 6 tips in each chapter. You can have a 4-chapter book. You could have 6 chapters. You could have 8 chapters. You could have 12 chapters. You could have 11 chapters, whatever that number is. But I'm using this system based on you have 10 chapters in the book, and each chapter, you're going to have 6 tips in each chapter. So day 2, then you would write the chapter names. You would, in this case, write 10 chapter names. So if you're using an acronym like RockStar, I would do 8, and I would come up with something for my R. I would come up with a chapter name for my O and my S. No, R, and then my C. Well, I kept saying S was number 3. R-O-C-K, Craig, S-T-A-R. So it was, R was reinvent yourself. O was overindulge on the internet. C was collaborate with like-minded people. K was keep it simple, stupid, and so on and so on. So those were my chapter names for my 8 chapters in my book. You're gonna, for this scenario, you're gonna write down day 2 your 10 chapter names. That's all you gotta do. Write down 10 chapter names. Day 3, you're gonna write 6 tip headlines for 2 of the chapters. So you're basically gonna just write 6 tips, not the whole tip, just the tip headline, what the tip is going to be for only 2 chapters. So that's 12 tip headlines you're gonna write on day 3. On day 4, you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna write 6 tip headlines for 2 of the chapters. And you can pick any, it doesn't have to be chapter 1 and 2. You can pick any chapters, that's the beauty, you can skip around. Day 5, you're gonna write, again, 6 headlines for 2 chapters. Day 6, you're gonna write 6 headlines for 2 chapters. So each day you're basically writing 12 tip headlines. Day 7, just like in the Bible, is a day of rest. So I always say, you actually have 4 days of rest in how to write a book in 30 days. So day 7, just rest and just like take it easy and just think about what you might write next week because the system will be right in front of you. So day 8, you're gonna finish writing the 6 tips for the 2 chapters because you've already done 2, 4, 6, 8, 4 days of 2 chapters, that's 8 of them. And then on day 8, you're gonna write 6 more tip headlines for 2 more chapters. So now you've written all the tip headlines, assuming that there's 6 in each for all 10 chapters of your book. Now, a lot of you are not gonna write 6 tip headlines for every single chapter. It might be 2, it might be 3, it might be 4. But this is like worst case scenario, 10 chapters, which is a lot, and 6 tips in each chapter. Yours is probably gonna be less. So I'm going way above what you can possibly do. Writing 12 tips in a day is not that hard. It should take you an hour. And in my How to Write a Book in 30 Days system, the actual flash drive that you get, it's along with a bunch of other things, it even earmarks how long each of these days will take. Most of them are an hour at the most, maybe 2 hours at the most. All right, day 9, now you're gonna write bullet points for 12 of the tip headlines. So now you have 60 tip headlines because you had 10 chapters, 6 tips per chapter. So you have 60 tip headlines all on that board, that sticky board. Then, now you're gonna go into Microsoft Word and you're gonna choose 12 of those stickies that have the tip headlines on them, and you're gonna write the bullet points in Microsoft Word for each of those 12 tip headlines. So you think that that's a lot, and it might be, but you're just writing bullet points. You're just writing the ideas for these 12 tip headlines. So you can choose, again, any 12 to write about in this section. Just writing bullet points for 12. So you're gonna do that on day 9, you're gonna do that on day 10, you're gonna do that on day 11, you're gonna do it on day 12, and you're gonna do it on day 13. So if you add that up, that's 5 days of writing bullet points for 12. So that's 12 times 5, that's 60 tips right there. So at the end of week 2, because you're resting on day 14, at the end of week 2, you have basically written a glorified outline for the book. Your book right now can be given to any person to actually write the content of the book, or now it's easy because everything is basically written. You have the blueprint after 2 weeks and you haven't done ridiculous amounts of work yet, not even close. Day 15, you're going to actually write 6 tips. So you're going to have the tip headline, you're going to have the bullet points, and you're just going to choose now 6 of them, only 6 out of the 60 to actually write the content of it. You're just going to actually write the entire tip out. We only have to write 6 of them. Some of them could be 1 paragraph. Some of them could be a couple of paragraphs. Like I said, it could be 1 paragraph. It could be 6 paragraphs. It could be 4. It could be 2, whatever. But take 6 of them and write out those tips. Same thing for day 16, 17, 18. I do something different because I don't want everyone to just keep writing. So you have 3 days, day 15, 16, 17, you're going to write 6 tips each. Then on day 18, I just want to break it up a little. So order your ISBN number, your barcodes, get a printing quote, start the design so that when the book is done at day 30, this will already be starting and overlapping because this is totally separate than writing of the book. So day 18 is a good time to do this because you probably got the title of the book locked in now because you've been writing for 17 days. And if you come up with an idea to switch titles, you would have done it by now. Back to this, day 19, 20, you're writing 6 more. So you've written 6 tips times 5 days. That's 30 of the tips. So half of the book is actually now written. Half of the book on day 20, day 21, the third of the 7 days is a rest day. So you've had 3 rest days and 18 writing days, and one of them was ordering ISBN numbers. So day 22, you're going to write again 6 more tips, write 6 more tips, write 6 more tips, and I break it up again. Now get the seller's permit, start on the website, start proofreading other chapters that you've already written, other tips that you've already written, just start doing something different. And then back to this again, day 26 and 27, you're writing 6 more tips for 5 days, that's 30 more. So now you've written the entire book after day 27. Day 28 is a day of rest, but now you're going to give the Microsoft Word or whatever Word document you're using over to look for your friends to look at on day 28. Day 29 is final editing, and day 30 I just put final editing. You really have 2 days extra to go through if your friends have read the book, final editing before it goes off to anybody there. It's just 2 extra days. Final steps in this thing is give your book to a designer to lay out the pages. So when everything is proofread and your friends have looked at it, copy editor has looked at it, then you're going to give it to a designer to lay out the pages. This is a very important step because when they lay out the pages, words and sentences get kicked around a little bit. So you're also going to then, after it's laid out, you're going to proof it again. You got to go through another proofing process after it goes from Microsoft Word to being laid out by somebody. Then you're going to send it to a printer. Then the printer will give you back a proof and you're going to proof it again because when the printer gets it, something can go wrong there as well. So that's the final proof. And then you're going to wait 3 to 4 weeks for your printed books. It's probably like 5 to 6 weeks now because more people are writing books. So that is basically an overview how to write the book in 30 days. Now, publishing, like I said, this is self-publishing it. You're going to give it to a designer. You're going to proof it. You're going to get someone to proof it. You're going to send it to a printer. You're going to proof it again. And if you're in my mastermind, I can help you through this process. And even if you're not, and if you're not in my mastermind, I still can, this whole system, if you would get the flash drive, will walk you through it even more than I just did. But self-publishing it is a good way to go if you want to save money. Karen Strauss has hybrid global publishing or global hybrid publishing. I joke on that. It's hybrid global publishing. And she's been my publisher for numerous years. And she's a hybrid publisher, meaning that I still own my content, but I go to her to publish the book. And she does all this stuff. She gets the designer, she gets the proofreader, she gets the copy editor, all that stuff. So her name is Karen Strauss. If you're listening to this webinar, then you can email me at craig@craigduswalt.com, craig@craigduswalt.com, CraigDuswalt, and I can give you information on printers, publishers, hybrid publishers, Karen, and anything else that you need if you're watching this. My mastermind is watching this too. They get to just call me up and ask me, and I help them do it. That's the benefit of being in my mastermind program. So this is basically an overview of how to write a book in 30 days and self-publish it or hybrid publish it. If you want a real publisher, ones that will take 2 years to write a book for you to get the book done, I don't highly suggest it. And you got to be rich and famous anyway to get a publisher, usually, or you got to have an amazing story or a big following. So I highly suggest you self-publish first or hybrid publish first. Hybrid publishing will take all the mistakes away, because even if I tell you exactly what to do, you are easily going to make a mistake self-publishing, but at least you have this to guide you along your self-publishing this. So my mastermind is online right now with me, and I'm going to answer any questions that they have, which will probably help you as well with this recording, because you probably have the same questions that they have as well. So I'm going to stop the share for a second here, and now I'm back, and there's a chat that's gone crazy while I was gone. I wasn't able to look at that because I was focused. But mastermind people, you are out there. Someone go first.
What about print on demand?
Print on demand, thank you so much, Hazel, is another way people are printing books. So I go to big printers because I usually print 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 books. But print on demand, I've done this before, 48hourbooks.com. It's the number 4, the number 8, HRbooks.com. I'll even type it in the chat. And what they do is it's more per book. Let me just type this in the chat, 48hourbooks.com. So
if you're selling on Amazon, isn't there a way of doing it so that you can just put it on Amazon and they do print on demand?
Yes, absolutely. So if you put your books on Amazon and you do it yourself, they use something called Create Space, I think it's called. I never do this, but yes, you can do this. You give them the book, their PDF or whatever, the ebook, the Kindle version, then they print them. So if they sell a book, they print the book and they send it out to the person. And that is a great way to do it, especially if you don't have a lot of money. You can put your Kindle book up there for 99 cents, become a #1 best-selling author, which I will talk about in a second as well. Become a #1 best-selling author because they're only 99 cents. Then you can switch the price from 99 cents to $4.99, and you could have the printed version, say $12.95, $12.97, $14.97, whatever you want. And that's where Amazon will then print the book for you. And instead of, like, if you sell it for $15, I'm making up numbers, but you might get $7 a book and they keep $8 a book. So yes, Amazon.com does it through them, print on demand. But if you also want 20 books to come to you as well, you could just go to 48hourbooks.com, and instead of maybe $1.25 or $1.50 a book, if you buy in big bulk, you could get them for like $4 a book, but you're only buying 20, so it's $80 for 20 books, and you can hand them out if you're going to be at a speaking event. So if you need fast books quick, 48hourbooks.com is a great way to get print on demand to your house. Otherwise, Amazon prints the books for you. Yes.
Fantastic.
Will Amazon also ship directly to the people?
That is correct. And they ship. Yep, they do everything. You do nothing.
They ship.
Right.
They do everything.
Yep.
Craig, can you talk a little bit about ordering the ISBNs?
Yes, so I went to isbn.org. I think I went there. There's a new one. Hold on one second. Let me just look at something.
When you get your ISBN number, you get the barcode at the same time.
Well, only if you order it that way. You can order ISBN numbers alone and just get the ISBN number, because a Kindle version, you only need an ISBN. You don't need the barcode, but you're going to print it anyway. If you're going to print it, you should have the barcode. But you just have to earmark it that I want the ISBN and the barcode. But I think it's Bowker, BOWKER.com. Shanta?
It is.
Yeah. Okay, good. BOWKER.com. And that's where you can get ISBNs and the barcodes right there. So I bought 10, and they're just sitting there waiting for me. I've used 7, and I just used one yesterday, coincidentally, because my wife is turning her Modeling Secrets Revealed book into a Kindle ebook. We just did that finally yesterday. So I had to use one of my ISBN numbers without a barcode. I didn't need it for the barcode, but one of my 10 that I use. So I forget how much one is, but 10 is cheaper than if you bought one 10 times.
And you can use it at any time? There's
Anytime. Yep. I bought these in 2008. I bought 10 of them in 2008, and I just used one yesterday. That was still good.
Craig, plus I wanted to state that I did my book through Amazon, and they do all of that.
Okay, so once again, if you do everything through Amazon, you're good at all this stuff. But here's the key, though. If you want printed books yourself, because you're a speaker and you want to give it out, you got to do this process, because you got to get books in your hand. Now, you can order your own books on Amazon.com for $15 each, but that would be stupid, because you're paying full price. Well, I guess you're getting $7 back, so you're paying $8. But print on demand is so much cheaper; it's half the price. And then if you know that you're going to have 1,000 books, you do a big print, and they're way cheaper. So
And you do
Amazon's good
both.
for some things, but it's also not good if you want to have them in hand.
But you can do both, right? You can have it on Amazon and still do your own book.
Absolutely, 100%. Yep.
And also with Amazon, they have a discount for the authors to get printing for them without having to go to the price of what somebody else would pay.
Okay, but then you're not going to probably get your $7 per book. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So you'll probably get it for cheaper, but you're not going to get the commission on the book. But yeah, I'm sure there's a way. But I will just say this with Amazon books, they're good. They're not great. They're very good. But the print on demand or the printed books are the best, just higher quality. It's just higher quality.
I have to tell you something. I just got Les's book yesterday.
Yes.
I was quite surprised at the way the inside of the book was laid out.
Okay, I'm not going to say, I'll say that on a separate call, Hazel, but you're right. I will stop the recording at some point, and then I'll discuss that.
Craig?
Yes?
Craig. It's Patricia here.
Yes, Patricia.
Okay.
Hi, Patricia.
Hi. So I'd like to just say something. I've been I think it is over 10 years now with you. And I think in the first year, it was a privilege to have that 30-day whole thing done by you over the course of that day in LA. So I want to share as almost like a testimonial, because I did write Karmic Alibi on the program. Then I wrote Karma in Cash. I'm working on like 30 whatever other books, which eventually, hopefully before I die, they'll all get out there. But for all of you people who haven't done this yet, it's discipline, but follow every single thing that he tells you, because it is not something that he's just come out of the thin air with. It really, truly does work. And also, frustration doesn't exist, because you have to keep with that mindset that you're just following those links that he's giving you. And the Post-it notes is something, or whatever format you use, but our minds work so quickly that we get rapid thoughts and ideas, and you just have to capture them, because they will make a difference. So I don't usually like to say too much on these calls. I'm a good listener, but today I had to, because I love you. You've changed my life beyond anything. Karmic Revolution is coming out, which is now the sequel to Karmic Alibi and Karma in Cash. And I'm following every single thing you say. And even though I've heard this many, many times, like over 10 years, quite a few times,
I know.
It is completely flawlessly your mantra. And I love you for this.
I love you too. And thank you for listening again.
Okay.
I've done this many times. The system does work. And like I said, I don't know why, but I came up with it, but I just did. And I used to write screenplays, and I used to write television scripts. And that's what I learned from Steven Spielberg, believe it or not, that system of the Post-its. I won a screenwriting fellowship from Steven Spielberg, Amblin Entertainment. I don't even know if I've ever shared this. So it was called the Chesterfield Film Company, and they have like 4,000 people a year submit scripts, full-length feature films, and they choose 10 a year, and they're partnered with Amblin Entertainment, which is Spielberg's company way back. And I was one of the 10 chosen one year. So I was mentored by Steven Spielberg for a year writing scripts. And that's how I learned how to write a book thing. So I just took that system and took it to here. But over 700 people now in 14 years have used this little system of unoverwhelmed and written books. And I actually have a list. And I used to show, like when it was like 150, I used to put the books up on my screen at my seminars and their names. But now there's way too many and I've lost count. But it does work. So thank you, Patricia. Roseanne McDonald had a question.
Yes, thank you. How do you decide on a price? I'm working on my third book, but I have no idea how to price them.
So I put $12.97. Actually, it's 95 on my books. $12.95, $14.95, $15.95, $19.95, and $20.95 and $24.95 in a hat. And then I mix them all up and I pick one out, and there's the price of my book.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious. I'm almost serious. There is no rhyme and reason for price. My little books are all $12.95 if I remember correctly. My this marketing is small. Is this 96-page books are all $12.95. My bigger books are $19.95, and my RockStar's book I think was $19.95. So I would just say this: soft cover, 96-page book, $12.95. Hardcover, 200 and something page book, $19.95, somewhere in there.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, and Kindle, we always start with 99 cents, and then some people go to $2.99, some people go to $4.99.
Thank you. Great.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Oh my gosh, wait, aren't you the star of The Price is Right?
No, I think that was my son.
No, but I saw you there too. I was
there.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I actually put it in my calendar and said, watch Price is Right. I never watched that show. And it was amazing. Her son, if you don't know, just won a trip to Belize, I think it was, during the regular session. And then he won the showcase, and he won a boat, a record player, which was kind of funny, and a trip to Memphis. Am I right? Something like that?
Correct. Yeah.
So when are we going to Memphis?
I'm telling you, the whole family is vying for this. So we shall see.
That's awesome, though. Congratulations. That was great.
It was so much fun. I can't even tell you.
Brady Fritz, star of stage and screen. And he wants to be an actor, which was a great little
stage for him. Yeah.
Sizzle reel for him, you know? All right. Sorry, Judy. Go ahead. Your question.
That's okay. My question, when you're coming up with a title, is it okay if there is another book that title is the same title, or do you have to research it somehow to make sure your title is not already used?
Great question. So my answer to that question is, if you can get the domain name for that title of the book, I would call the title of the book that title. If the domain name already exists because that person that wrote that book bought the domain name as well, I would try very, very hard to change the title of the book. It's all about the domain name and your brand if I'm going to stay with that. Then you start getting into trademarking. Now, the title of the book can be the same as another title. But if I'm coming up with something that has something to do with my brand, I'm going to make sure the trademark is available as well, because I learned a long time ago that's kind of important down the line. So we're all expecting you guys to be huge in your business, so I don't want to pigeonhole you if this already exists, and there's a domain name because if you have a book with a title and then you're going to tell people to go to your domain and it's a different title than the book because the domain is owned by someone else, they're going to go to that one. and they're going to buy their book instead of yours because they're going to assume. So that's the only caveat, but you're allowed to. I just wouldn't.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Craig?
Thanks, Craig. I have to go. Thank you so much. It was really great.
Oh, you're welcome, Hazel. Well, see, I know I'm going to go over a little today. So if you got to leave the call, that's totally okay.
But I have another call, so I have to go.
Great seeing
Thank you.
Bye.
Craig, this is
Anyone else have a
Eleanor.
question?
Can you hear me?
Eleanor, yes. Hi.
Yes. Okay, you talked about the different kinds of books, but now I'm writing a book. In fact, I've already written it. It's not in any of those categories. And it comes in the category of a tabletop book,
Okay.
it's a museum kind of book.
Yep.
It's nonfiction, but it's kind of funny, but also has stuff in it. And I'm writing a little one that I will do as an ebook and give out for free. I'm having an extended version where I'm getting other people's input. And
So
that's
what is the question then?
Yes.
Eleanor, what was the question then?
Well, I guess that was a category that you didn't mention. And
Oh, a tabletop. Yeah, I got you. So yeah, there's many other categories that I didn't mention. But a tabletop book is basically, especially it's going to be a nonfiction book, it probably falls into the category of whether it's humorous or a humorous book like what's his name from Seinfeld, Kramer wrote that coffee table book about coffee tables, and it was a coffee table book. Not that yours is that, but I'm saying, but there's many other categories. But a tabletop book is probably going to be read. And you just said it was kind of funny. What's the name of it? Do you know the name of it yet?
Yes, I do. And it has one of your things that you say not to do. It's called How to Say No Without Saying No.
Okay, so she's saying the reason why I say not to do that is because it's a negative in the book. How to say no by not saying no. However, that is actually a positive. Now it says the word no in it, which is not supposed to be in a title. But the positive of that is how to say no, and that's actually a positive thing. So I would say I give my blessing to that title, actually.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Quick question.
Yep.
When you were talking about how to come up with ideas for books, and you mentioned when you are talking to somebody on the phone and you're brainstorming and whatnot, how do you record a call when you know?
Okay, great idea. Great question. So what I meant by that is you're like not even a brainstorming. It's a coaching call, because I don't want to record the other person on the other line without permission, and I don't even know how to get into phone tapping. So I meant that I would just, if I'm on a coaching call, I'm giving advice to somebody, and I'm recording just me, because I don't want to get into the whole that I have to get permission from them to tape the call and everything. I meant, and I apologize if I wasn't clear, but thank you for asking that, is I meant I tape myself if I'm on a coaching call giving advice about something. And it's just, I use that because I'm talking about something that I'm probably teaching to that person on the call, that I'm probably teaching somewhere in my book. So I use that, tape it, and then I use that information for ideas for my book.
Is there a way to record if you're, say you're getting coaching from somebody and they are not recording it? Is there a way for you to record it?
You know who Raven Blair Glover tapes all of our phone calls. So I would ask Raven in our Facebook group. She knows how to do that. Or you could ask Richard Nixon's family members how he did it.
Right.
No, I don't know how to tap phone calls. No, I'm kidding. I don't know how to do that. I just don't do that. But I know there's some people out there, and I know Raven in our mastermind tapes all our calls, and she says to me, "Is it okay if I tape this?" And I give her permission. So there is a way to do it. I just don't do that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Craig, it's Tony.
Hello, Tony Caruso, star of Stage and Screen.
Oh, of course. Just really quick, if you tape someone and you're taping both people, can you then send it off and have it transcribed, change the name of the person, and that can be a case study?
I would say 100% yes, but they might be sharing some information that they aren't comfortable with being in a book. So that's why I would ask them, hey, I'm taping this, is that okay? But that's why I don't do that, because I don't want to get into that. Now, interviews are different. So if I'm interviewing someone on a podcast, I would tell that person, hey, I'm interviewing you and I'm probably going to transcribe this and put it in a book. Are you okay with that? And I verbally get them to say yes. Now, there are contracts out there that I know people are using for their podcasts, and that's probably smarter than what I've done, but I haven't done an interview book yet. I give the idea to do it, but I do compilation books, and they sign something about the compilation book, you know? Tony, unmute yourself if you're still talking.
I'm not talking.
Okay,
I'm
got
okay. You answered it.
Okay, thanks.
Also, what I'm going to do is transcribe my online course and turn that
100%.
into a book.
That's great. And that's you just doing your online course. Once again, she's repurposing something that she's doing, an online course, which is great, by the way. And then she's going to transcribe that into a book. Absolutely. All day long. Yes, always get permission first, Roseanne, and everything. Any other questions?
Quick question. You
Yes,
talked
Douglas.
about, yes, you were talking about that flash drive that kind of outlines this a little bit deeper.
Yes, you guys are getting one because you're new. Now, well, thank you for bringing this up. I will talk about that in a minute when I stop recording, Douglas, so I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to hit stop record in a second. Does anyone have any questions about book writing or anything like that?
I have a quick question, Greg.
Yes, sir.
Hey, are you?
Is that Chris Koff all the way from Crested Butte?
That's me. Yeah, right
Hi,
here.
buddy.
How are you doing?
I'm great. I saw your email yesterday that your city is open.
Yeah, we are opening up slowly, but
Okay.
So that's great news.
Congratulations. I'm coming to you because we're not.
Thanks. Yeah. So are you still recommending Bang printing? I've printed 3 books.
Yes.
And
So I have, yep. So I still have Bang printing. And the person, because of this COVID, the person that I was using is not there anymore. So I have a new connection that I will email you. Can you do me a favor? Email me that, hey, Craig, who's your new connection at Bang? And I will email you privately.
Okay. That sounds great. Thank you.
Yep. And so I still use Bang as the answer. Bang printing used to be called something else, but they're Bang printing, and they have offices all over the United States. So like they'll ship to you from the closer one and print from the closer one. They're great. I still use them.
Very good. I appreciate that. And I would also provide a testimonial. Craig's system is really straightforward and simple. And if you follow it, your book will be done at the end.
How many have you done?
I've done actually 4, and I'm getting ready to print the 5th book. So
yeah,
super excited about that.
Yeah, and Chris was one of those guys that cranked out books fast. I did those 4 books in 9 weeks. He was on that track too. He was cranking book after book after book. So and he has some testimonials. You don't have to share now, but of getting. He's a real estate guy, getting clients because of your books.
Yeah. So I would just add too that a lot of people get hung up around the price of your book and all those types of things. You got to look at the big picture. I've used my book as a tool, as Craig has, helped us to understand, and I give it away, but it helps me as a marketing tool to attract the dream clients that I want to do business with. And I've been able to generate literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in real estate commissions because I'm perceived as an expert, and authors are experts and experts are authors.
Yep. And he's kicking butt. Kicking butt in Colorado.
Question.
Yes, Roseanne.
Yes. Okay. So years ago, I authored a book and I was giving it to my specific clientele for, it's kind of like a journal book, sort of.
Yep.
But now I would like to actually sell it, make money for other people that are not my clients that could benefit. So how would you how would you price that? I don't know.
Well, if once again, if it's just a book, let me be clear. Is it just, when I say just, is it just a book, or is it a workbook where they work through as part of like your process of helping them?
Yeah, it's actually a workbook. There are sections where they can write, you know, it's a glorified journal for a specific demographic.
Okay. That is a little different than just writing an information book. So
Right.
that is not that turns into, you know, you could have a CD set with that, we'll call it, lack of a better word, a workbook. That is a system. Now we're talking about a system that you would use. Now we're into the 97, 197 range. Because when I first came up with my RockStar system for success was an 8 CD set and an action guide that was 47 pages. And they would listen to the CD set and they would fill in the information that they wanted to fill in on the action guide that went in. When I first started selling those, I sold those for $197. It was an 8 CD set and the workbook that went in, the action guide. Then I did the 3 CD set for the How to Write a Book in 30 Days and Self-Publish It with a 117-page action guide. And that's what's on my flash drive. All that is on my flash drive that I sell for $997.
Right.
But the How to Write a Book in 30 Days itself, I've sold, when I sold just that piece of it for like $497, because I knew that people were going to get a book out of this. But that was in the old days, you know, back in 1926, when people used to spend $3,000 for conferences. So we've had to adjust. So now I sell the flash drive that has the RockStar System for Success 8 CD set and the action guide, the How to Write a Book 3 CD set and the action guide, and a bunch of ebooks, Tyler's book, and another, my proposal to get the Guns N' Roses book proposal, how I got that publishing deal. I sell that now online for $997, but when I speak, I sell it for like $497, and they get 2 tickets to my event. So just know that now it's not just a book for $12.95 to $19.95. It's more of a system. So initially, and I don't even know what it is, but I would say $97 to now $197 for that, because it's different than just a book.
I see. Yes, because I recorded in a professional recording studio the actual CDs, now MP3s, you know, and downloads that go along with the book. So
So now it's a system. So we talk about this all the time. It's like the book now turns into some sort of system where you're actually helping them, almost customized for them. It's not really, but now it's like talking to them, and it's a CD set with a workbook or an action guide. Is definitely $97 to $197, and it could be higher depending on what it is. But that's a system that's totally different than just an information book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Hi, Craig.
Hi,
Catherine. So what I did to make my book, I wrote a lot of stories and a lot of collaborative books. So I took 15 of those stories and made my own book.
Oh, great.
And so everything you're talking about, I don't know how to break down the chapters to actually make new things out of it.
So let me ask, so is it, what's the title of that book?
Journey of Angelic Healing, Stories to Feed Your Soul.
And so there are 15 stories that you wrote in that book?
Yep.
So do each of those stories, is each story along the lines of a lesson that you could actually teach? Is it a teaching thing, or are they just stories that help people get through something specific?
Number two.
Number two. So helping them get through something using that story. Now you take the story, and now you're going to turn each story into its own book. The book part of that story is helping them get through what the story helps them get through. And that's where you have to turn it into some sort of system or program. So if you're saying each story is possible to be its own book, then your book part of it is sharing the story, but coming up with a step-by-step program, a system that helps them get through what you are teaching in that, what you are sharing in that story. So if there's a story about whatever it is, you have to have some sort of idea, okay, this story works because the process that they have to go to have the success that this story has, they have to go through this process. You have to come up with the process, and that is the individual book.
A lot of it, excuse me, a lot of it is about my healing journey.
Okay, so if you could come up with the specific healing that story talked about, because healing journey is great, but healing journey can be millions of things. You know, if you could come up with specifically what was healed, or specific, like if it was grief because someone died or something, then you need to heal. That's one specific book on grief. If one was like muscle pain, and I'm just making stuff up, muscle pain, how do they get through the process of not having any muscle pain anymore? So you have to take whatever the healing was, and if you want to do overall healing, that's tough, because healing can be anything. I suggest to people to come up with something specific that you can help them heal.
Mine is mostly mind, body, and spirit.
Okay, great. Mind, body, and spirit. So if you want to write a book on mind, body, and spirit, you just come up with the 8 steps to help people have a better mindset, whatever it is. I mean, you can just write one book and use one of the stories, or yeah, you could use 2 stories. You could have each story, maybe condense each story and each be a chapter in the book if they talked about specific things. If each story touched on something specific, you could write a whole chapter on the system of whatever it is and have the story as the end of the chapter as the example of someone that went through this specific thing, and here's the story of how they got through it. But I'd have to know a lot more. I'm just like talking out of my butt right now.
Yeah. I don't know if I gave you my book.
I keep all my books in the garage, and there's like 18.4 billion books in my garage because of all you nice people that give me the book, their books. But
thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Greg, I have a question.
Hi, Barbara Allison.
Hi. I wondered if you have any tips for getting reviews on Amazon for books.
Yes. So my tip is to put it in our Facebook page. And if you've done it already, do it again, because it keeps getting kicked down. And then I demand that all of you in the mastermind, all 200 people in the mastermind, to give Barbara Allison a 1-sentence, 5-star review on her book. And we should all do that for each of us. We should all write reviews. I did this last time. So the A's do the first week, the B's do the second week. If your last name starts with C, do week 3, so we don't all bombard it at once. But we should all be writing reviews for each other. So start with our Facebook page, and you're gonna get 200 reviews. You should get at least 100 by the people. And then once you start getting that, just ask your friends, family to write reviews as well. Now, you could also go on Facebook and say, hey, I'll give you a free copy of my book if you write a review for my book as well, and send them the Kindle version of the book. That's bribing people.
Oh, I didn't think Amazon allowed that.
Well, if you gave if you gave, you have the version of the book. I have, like, my book is on Amazon. But if I want to, this is where it's good to have your own copies, and it's good to have the ebook version yourself. You should have had it before it even went to Amazon. So if you take the ebook version and you email a friend and say, hey, I'll email you my ebook if you write a review on Amazon, Amazon can't do anything about that.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I got that now.
Okay. Anyone else?
One more last quick question from me anyway. With regard to Roseanne's system, I know the one she's talking about. And certainly we've hit a lot of walls on just how to market something like that. And this may not be the correct forum. Perhaps at the mastermind, we might want to talk about that. It'd be nice if you could maybe kind of walk us through what you think we should do.
So I have a whole separate one, Douglas, on, I'm doing a whole separate one on, because I knew this was going to be a long one. So we're at 2 hours and 20 minutes so far. I'm doing a whole separate webinar on marketing your book or your system. So that's going to be a whole separate masterclass. So I'll save that one for that. But you guys can call me and I can tell you that, you know, anytime. But just know that there's going to be a masterclass on marketing your book, which I actually should do kind of soon since I did this one. I might just throw that one in there as an extra one. I'll come up with a date, but yeah. So what I'm going to do right now is this. I'm going to stop this recording. Mastermind, stay on. I'm going to stop this recording. So everybody out there that's listening this, that is getting this because you signed up for my webinar series, you'll have instructions if you want to take this further or if you want the flash drive in an email. Take care, everyone. Bye.